Welcome to Haunt Weekly. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and haunted entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And today, we focus a little bit more on the actor side, it seems. Yes, indeed. We are focusing on the actor side as we connect with our old friend of the podcast, been our guest so many times, we've lost count, Japes Palles.
Hello.
Japes, how are you doing?
I am doing very, very well. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we get together and have a little haunt chat. It's been a minute since we've gotten to do this, so I'm glad we're
it is. And you know, it's been I don't know if we've reconnected on the podcast since pandemic. I know we've talked a ton off the podcast, but
yeah.
I don't think we've connected on podcast since the pandemic started. Japes, for those that do not know, major figure in the Chicagoland area and haunting. The alter ego of Brewster Bonesaw, as I like to think of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I tend to believe Brewster's the more real him, personally.
Well, yeah.
And also the operator extraordinaire of the Lost Souls bus tour in Chicago. An absolutely amazing haunted attraction experience. If you're in that area, if the 2021 tour is able to happen, I know the 2020 wasn't, but the 2021 is able to, my God, do it. Just do it, people. There's no excuse.
Yes, and, you know, you can they buy your shirt somewhere?
You know, I still haven't set up any kind of online store.
Okay.
I really got them.
Because I'm wearing a shirt.
Yes. Crystal is wearing, if you notice, Crystal's not wearing black.
Thank you.
She is wearing, Japes actually
like blowing out the camera because it's so bright
it
orange.
Is.
It is a very
all
bright
of our
orange.
White balancing in this room centers around it being very dark on this side. And Crystal's to come in with reflective orange, high visibility orange, and screw everything up. So yes, that's why the camera's a little bloated out. Nothing we can do about it in the few minutes.
It's funny. I gave out some of the shirts at a event that I went to with the Chicago Haunt Builders. God, now it was 2 Christmases ago. But it was really funny because I gave the shirts out and people put them on right away, and I could find everybody that had my shirts because everybody else is wearing black. So it was like, oh, there's an orange shirt. There's an orange shirt.
You know, I told Crystal this a while back. We may keep one apiece for ourselves.
Yeah,
but we're going to do that. But we may stick a third in the trunk of our car just in case we get stuck on the side of the road at night and need some high visibility gear because that's really bright orange.
Yeah.
Like we tend not to wear clothes that are great for changing a tire at night. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I hope I save your life someday.
Yes. No, we got to slow those shirts.
Possibility.
We will be giving them out, a lot of them out over the next few weeks. But yeah, so this is a great opportunity to sit down with Japes and talk about something that is quite clearly very dear to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah. You know, I actually had a conversation with Jen from Transworld about a month ago, and it just kind of got my mind thinking about my experiences at Transworld and all the things that I've learned after going to Transworld for many, many years, and helping to vend at Transworld and vending at Transworld, and just haunt conventions in general. And I have to preface this, and I know we've talked about a little bit, like my experiences with Transworld and with MHC. Those are the 2 haunt shows that I've gone to. I've never made it out to HauntCon or any of the other regional shows. So my background with regards to haunt cons is definitely the Transworld shows and MHC before it was part of Transworld as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have our experience, and similar, we've never been to Transworld, but we've done the other side of the country, basically, where we have done both HauntCon repeatedly and Halloween and Haunt Fest, which is now, I forgot what it's called, Texas Haunters Convention. That's right.
Yes.
Yes, they changed the name of it. So it's Texas Haunters Convention now, but it was Halloween and Haunt Fest when we went. So yeah, we've been to those shows. So yeah, between us, we basically got the north and the south of the country covered. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what's interesting is, we've kind of compared our notes and we've looked at our notes, and like it's pretty much the same in terms of like the in terms of the etiquette, in terms of the
Yeah,
actor experience. You know, it's the same. The behavior is the same, I guess.
I agree.
You know, the focus of the shows and the way that the shows are run is different, but in terms of what you can get out of it and kind of how to conduct yourself at these shows, it doesn't matter if you're north or south. It's kind of the same.
Yeah.
No.
And conventions. And one of the things I was thinking about as we're getting into this is a lot of what we're saying here can theoretically apply to any trade show or convention, regardless whether it's haunters or not. Even though, as we were discussing before we got on, I don't see as much of this behavior at other professional conventions.
Hmm.
What we're
You mean they don't have big blowout parties at the end of the night?
They do have that sometimes, but even then, people behave very. That's one of the things I've noticed, and I think this goes back to something we've been talking about on the podcast, where people, or there's a tendency of people in the haunted attraction industry to not take haunted attractions seriously, even if it is their full time business. They
Hmm.
still treat
Hmm.
this as not a serious thing. And
Yeah.
the result of that is, I think there's a mindset that the conventions aren't as serious. You know, I've seen things at HauntCon and so forth you would never see at the American Medical Writers Association, just to give a conference I went to before pandemic.
No.
You know, you're not going to see this stuff there. I mean, and I've seen some stuff. I've been to like the ASMP conference, and all that. And I've gotten pretty drunk at conferences on my professional gig, but I've never seen some of the types of behavior we're going to be discussing here. So, yeah, I'm happy to go into this, and I think Japes has assembled. He did the work for us this week. These are his notes, and so I'm very excited about it. So, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, well, I mean, before I go too far, I also want to give a little shout out to. I reached out to a lot, and now keep in mind, I have plenty of friends who vend, and I've talked to people throughout the year and stuff. But just recently, I reached out to a bunch of people who've given me some really great feedback. Gorgalore, Froggy's Fog, Bloody Mary, VFX, Hallucinations Creations, Blood Brood Effects, Original Sin Design, HauntedIllinois.com, and of course Odie Schaefer, Mouse, as he's affectionately known, who's been going to haunt shows way longer than I have. And they all were very uh, very what is it? They gave me
Forthcoming?
a lot of great information. Yeah, they gave me a lot of great information, and I some background for me in terms of like my experience with shows is my first Transworld I worked for 11th Hour Haunted House here in Chicago. My boss got me a job at the show. This is my first year working for Studio Tech Effects, demonstrating their bungee jump thing, which has actually become a pretty common prop now in a lot of haunted houses. But that's what I did for my first 2 years of Transworld, was jumped on that damn thing for 6-7 hours a day for 3 days out of the weekend, and drank too much at night. And then that led to me getting a job working for Billy Bob Teeth, where I ended up doing trade shows with Billy Bob for probably about 4 years. And actually, mainly did non-haunt shows with them. I did grocers conferences and stuff, but they approach those shows the same way they approach Halloween shows, where we just act like assholes, and Brewster fits in very well. So that's kind of my background in terms of being a vendor, and doing sales and doing demos and all that fun stuff. Um, so after having this conversation with Jen a couple weeks ago, it kind of got me thinking about like what I wish that somebody like me had come to me, somebody with my level of experience now, with 20 years in now, um, had come to me and said, "Hey, man, like this is what you can do to really get the most out of this, and here is you know some things to consider when you make your decision." So that's what I wanted to bring today was, um, you know, I'm an old man, and I want the young kids to understand how to get the most out of this, and
All
make the
right.
best out of these shows.
Sounds reasonable.
Um, so, so yeah,
So, well, right off the bat, this is going to be an unusual trans world coming up.
yep.
Yeah, there's going to be some COVID restrictions in place.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I think that we can expect to see COVID restrictions in place for at least the next year at any convention that you go to.
Yeah, so and I think what they're doing at Transworld, which I think Japes will go into in just a second, is going to be indicative of what we're going to see at other conferences for a while. So even if you're not going to Transworld, this is the type of stuff to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, and Jen and Rich did a podcast last weekend. I can't remember. I know Tater was hosting it.
It was the first part of Haunter's Hangout, I believe.
Okay, it was through
Yeah,
Hunter's Hangout. There you go.
yeah.
And they talked a lot in depth about everything that's changing for this year. And I kind of just pulled the things that I think will matter the most to actors or people who are attending. One of the big things is much larger aisles. The aisles are going to be, the width is going to be twice as big as usual,
Mm-hmm.
20 feet instead of 10 feet, which is going to help with some of the problems that we're going to be talking about today, in terms of like congestion within the aisles and stuff. You're not going to see that, and I think anybody, if this is your first Transworld this year, and again, like I know I keep saying Transworld, but this applies to other shows. If this is your first time going to a haunt show this year, you're going to think that it looks really empty because
Exactly.
the aisles are really, really big, and
Yeah.
there's no congestion. Everybody has place to
And there will be
space out.
some reduced attendance, probably, just because of the
Yes.
nature of the beast.
Yeah, right now they've said that they are not at capacity and they have as many signups as they would in a normal year.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
So, yeah, they're expecting a fairly normal show as far as people coming to it, but it's going to look very different because they've rented out the entire area. They're also not. There are also little changes that if you go and watch that, you can find out about too. In addition to the 20 feet.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, the usual, temperature checks when you get in, which I think is an important piece to keep in mind. Like, I don't know about you all, but when I get hungover, I also get my temperature also goes up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're drinking on Saturday night and you drink too much and you wake up the next day with a higher temperature than normal because your body is pumping raw alcohol, that may prevent you from being able to get in that next day. So really think about how you're drinking.
I have never tested that on me to see if that actually is the case for me. But I always have such a low body temp, I doubt it would matter.
That's true.
I get horrible hangovers, so I do not recover well from drinking. So that may just be a me thing. But one of the themes that folks you're going to notice today is how to drink professionally.
Yeah, and so that actually brings us to Robert Moore. He says, "Brewster, it's Rooster" in the comments. He's asked, "Where do you get all that hair? And also, where's your beer?" So that seemed like the perfect time to bring this up.
There's the beer. Okay,
I got the beer,
okay.
and this is a year of no haircuts. I have not had a haircut since February of 2020. So,
and also just on the side, Paul Lanner of Hunters Against Hate is in the chat, and he said that you're an awesome guy.
Oh,
oh well,
that's
happy birthday
Paul,
to you, sir! Happy birthday, Paul.
Yes.
And Rooster, I'm glad you're jumping in here. Rooster is Rooster. Rooster and I worked together for many years. He's a wild person. He's a very wild person. Brewster and Rooster get along very well.
All right.
But yeah, so I mean, like I said, this is a theme in terms of things that I've seen going through this. Drinking at cons, at haunt cons especially, it's just part of the culture. And like, if you're not a drinker, don't feel like you need to drink. And I actually encourage people to drink less. Like, I wish I can think of some years in the past where I was like, oh God, I wish I hadn't drank like that. So
Yeah.
Don't, especially younger folks. And again, obviously if you're under 21, don't drink. Like I'm not, and if you see anybody handing out drinks to somebody who's under 21, call them out immediately, because that's some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for that. So, but if you're not a big drinker, don't feel like you need to drink a lot just because everybody else is drinking. Control yourself so that you enjoy yourself too.
Yeah. It's a know your limits moment. Know your personal limits moment, whatever they may be.
And, yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we have some notes on COVID.
Well, real fast, one other thing about Transworld and COVID is masks everywhere in the building.
Yeah.
Regardless if you have the vaccine, regardless of
Hmm.
if you've gotten 3 vaccines, it doesn't matter. If you got them all, they're
Yeah.
Pokemon, you collected them all. It does
Mhm.
not matter. You are
Yeah, and
not. You
and
have to be masked anywhere in that building, and please don't be a dick about that
Yeah,
to people.
exactly.
I don't care what your personal thoughts on masks are. You have 2 choices: either wear a mask or don't go. Being a dick to the people that work there is not one of your options.
No.
right, right. Yeah, this is the reality for everybody, and I know some people are coming from states where it's not so much the reality, and it is, that is what it is. But it is the reality in most public places that and it is in St. Louis. That's the rule. So you got to play by the rules. It's not a surprise. You're not going to get there and be like, oh God, I didn't know this was happening. It's pretty commonplace at this point. So,
Yeah, agreed.
um, but yeah, I mean. Um,
But
yeah,
yeah, go ahead
that
though.
is
COVID
what it
stuff.
is.
But yeah,
No,
so other
I was
COVID
just going to
stuff. You
say,
weren't
like,
going into it. I was just.
I guess this is going to be a weird year, and I can't tell you what it's going to be like at any of these shows this year. So, the focus is more on what to consider all the time.
Yeah.
So, so one thing that came up in talking with somebody, they were talking about uh, how they do a staff meeting before they even go. And this is something that I can tell you I never experienced in any of the times that I went to Transworld, any of the haunts that I went with. Um, like we didn't meet to like talk about anything. So as an owner or as a manager, you should be meeting with your crew that you're going to be bringing to Transworld and clarifying, the expectations of behavior. Remember, especially, we go to our haunt shows and we want to show our swag. We want to wear our lost soul shirts. We want to show off where we're from. And if you're acting like an asshole, that reflects badly on the haunt. I,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who have ruined my perspective and have ruined other people's perspective of their haunt because of how they conduct themselves. Um, and that may be, I mean, maybe that's how they want to be known. Maybe that's how the haunt wants to be known. That is completely possible
Hmm.
because I know there are plenty of haunts that operate on that shock mentality. Um, and so, um, which ironically, it's funny. I'm thinking about House of Shock. Those
Yeah.
guys were always super professional, though. You may not believe it, but they all. I know how
So,
wild that show could be, but
yeah.
but uh,
Yeah.
but at Transworld and at all the haunt shows.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them behave very well at
Yeah. The higher ups at the
conferences
House of
and
Shock, like
things.
the people that would be
Oh
going to the
yeah.
shows, were always amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
The
Yeah,
problems you have at the House of Shock in terms of professionalism was typically the people further down the totem pole that probably were not getting taken to Trans World and so forth.
yes, exactly.
Those
And
people
that's
could
the
be
thing.
real dicks, but they were not going to Trans World. It wasn't an issue.
And I mean, like, Transworld is supposed to be a buyer's show.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's one thing,
It's a trade
and it's
show.
so it's you're there to buy, and a lot of haunts don't do that. They'll bring their crew. I know haunts um, who will reward their staff if you're here every night, then we'll bring you to Transworld, or they'll do that as like a bonus and bring people. So not all the haunts are actually bringing people who should be there in terms of the real purpose
Yeah. No
of that
kidding.
show. Um, so but when we talk about things like MHC, MHC is a much more laid back. It's for getting together and socializing and hanging out. It's more of an education based show. Um, so, but Transworld is divide. Like that's why you're
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
have a meeting. Have a meeting with your team. Talk about behavior. Talk about the roles. Who's there to do what. Um, you should have. I mean, that's the crazy thing that to think about too is that like the show is typically in March. It's pushed back a little bit this year, but like by this point, you as the owner should already have a plan for what you're going to change next year. That's the whole point is
Oh
you've
yeah.
decided what rooms you're going to change, what stuff you're going to do, and then you go there and you're looking for the stuff that fits that theme, that fits into that room. Um, you know, you, so So make sure that you're having those conversations with your staff. So even the people who don't have buying power, they know that, oh, there's going to be whatever, an Egyptian themed room. And then they go as they're walking around, they find props that would fit that room. And they can say, hey, person who has buying power, I saw these awesome things over here, Um, so, just be really, you know, um, be clear about that. And the other piece, in terms of people who, um, sometimes people will get the opportunity, right? The haunt is offering to let them come and whatever, but they kind of have to pay their own way. If you can't afford to go, just don't go. um, like, and I'm not, and I got to say, I'm guilty of a lot of the things that I'm saying here. So I just want to be totally transparent.
Oh yeah.
That I've gone to shows before when I was like, I didn't have money to be there. I lived off McDonald's for the whole weekend. I lived off the cheapest food I could. Slept on somebody's floor. I've done all this stuff.
Hmm.
And so I understand that people are going to do it, but I think if you can't afford to go, then like don't start bothering people with how much you sacrifice to be there. I've seen people do this, like, oh God, I really don't have money for this. I shouldn't. I mean, I just packed a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that's all I have to eat right now. And it's like this. You can almost feel them saying, like, reach into your wallet and give me some money.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
and I'm like, come on, like you knew what you were sacrificing to get here. Now you're screwed.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. Um, so, but when you're there, you know, um, have fun, have a
Yeah.
good time, and check everything out. Learn like crazy. That's what it's all about, is learning and connecting. You know, um, I know you all had talked about, even you had even thought about like getting there earlier. You had talked about that,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's something that
for
they
registration and stuff.
brought up on the interview, was that the day before Wednesday they open up registration and nobody ever shows up to register early. So if you could, they're asking people to show up for the early registration if you're already there and in town and able, so that you don't have the crush of humanity on the Thursday morning when the show actually starts.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, I mean, I'm a big believer with conferences of getting there early and or leaving late if possible, because a lot of the networking, a lot of the things that happen, at a conference happen in the off hours. And we've made connections. Like, luckily, we live in New Orleans, so when HauntCon was here, we were just in town. But people would stay days after, and we would hang out with them. The Monday and Tuesday after the conference. We were still hanging out
Hmm.
with them,
Mm-hmm.
and furthering the memories and the connections. So that was always great stuff. And I know when you and I travel, especially internationally, if we're going to make the plunge to go to another place that's going to cost us a lot of money, we plan to stay at least a few days more so we could experience the town and experience more
Hmm.
there. If you've never done St. Louis before, there's a lot of great stuff to do there. Maybe book a couple extra days, but
Mm-hmm.
on either side of it, whichever's more convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, there's never enough time. I
No,
mean,
no,
that's
no.
part of the reason. That's part of the reason that I usually kill myself at those shows, is because I don't want to sleep,
Yeah.
because I just want to talk with people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the most memorable conversations have come at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, where I'm just talking with somebody, and you know just getting so much great information, and sharing stories, and I love it.
Yeah, and we've done that. And as long as we didn't have an obligation the next morning, it's okay to allow yourself to not keep to the schedule that you set for yourself. Because a lot of times, especially first time conference goers, are going to set a breakneck pace for themselves to go to the conference, do all the things. And
Attend every
it's
class. Go to.
exactly, and not remember to build in lunch. And it's okay to allow yourself that time if you need it.
Yeah, you're going to miss a few things you'd planned on. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
life.
And I think, and it's funny because I'm not a scheduler person, so like I like that idea of just like really laying out what your day is going to look like, and like from this time to this time, I'm just going to be exploring the show floor. I have a
Hmm.
tendency to get pulled into, I'm going to explore the show floor, and I make it without one aisle. I bump into somebody I haven't talked to in a long time, and then 45 minutes go by, we're just standing in the damn aisle talking. So it's hard to make it through when you're bumping into friends that you haven't seen in a long time, or people who through Facebook, right? Like we have these relationships with all these hunters through Facebook who we've never met in person, and this is the opportunity to finally meet face to face. So make schedule times for that. I think that was one thing that I did at MHC last time that I really liked, is that we had a group of people who all participate in one Facebook group. Like, hey, we're going to have a sit down. We're going to get together for lunch, and we were able to talk and kind of hang out and chat with everybody. So scheduling in those things and trying to stick to those as much as you can, so that you can do all the things, I think is a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
But also understand things happen. Don't beat yourself up if you can't.
Right.
It's a plan, not a requirement.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think one of the things you were talking about was you had a lot of great tips for trade show floors and basic advice if you're not a buyer. Things like, try to, help vendors by not taking their catalogs and their swag unless they offer specifically.
Yeah. So this is one thing that I talked to a bunch of people about, and like, you got to understand, man, that print is expensive. You're talking because no respectable haunt company is going to put out a catalog that's like black and white. It's all full color. It's all on nice paper so that you can look at it and see the detail of all the things that they're selling. And what people don't realize, and again, I'll tell you right now, I've got stacks of flyers from like 2002, from Transworld, because I was one of the people that didn't realize it, and I was just collecting them. And and to be fair, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break here. Things were different then. We didn't necessarily have, not every company had a Facebook page and easy access to websites and stuff like that when I first started going. So now it's changed where, like, if I know that a company has something good, I can just go right on their website and take a look at it. So you don't need that to take that print.
My approach is to take business cards, not catalogs, if at all possible, because business cards can be pretty much given away willy-nilly. That's what they're there for. And it'll have the information, like you said, to connect on the Facebook and find their website, their online catalog. And honestly, it's 2021, man. I prefer the virtual catalogs to the physical ones anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to be touching everything.
Yeah, especially in COVID times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think still a lot of people, again, I'm a tech person, right? So I'm very tech focused. I look at, is there a way I can do this without taking any paper? Because I don't, not even because I want to, not because I don't want to take their print, because I just don't want to carry their print. I don't want paper. I don't like it. But there's still a lot of people who aren't that way, and they like to grab the catalog. But then what they do is they get the catalog on Thursday or Friday. They then meet with their group, with their haunt group. I'm talking about people, again, these are the people who do have buying power. They'll take those catalogs, they'll meet in their room, and they'll say, what do you like here? And you'll circle it, and then you'll make your plan for where you want to go on Sunday to go finalize those deals. A lot of on Sunday, even though Sunday seems like a slower day in terms of, like, basically the actors have all killed themselves by that point. And nobody's left except for the people that are there to cut deals. And now they've got their plan. They know what they're going to do. They're going to come to the vendors. So that Sunday is really when we want to meet, especially, like, I think social media has created this interesting haunt celebrity thing, right? So, like, you may want to go to the Gorgalore booth to go meet Kevin Albee, or you might want to go talk to Tater over at Froggy's Fog, and, like, this is your chance to meet your haunt idol, or that haunt star that you've only seen on the internet and whatever. And, like, everybody I talk to is totally cool with that. So, like, understand that first and foremost. People are open to talking to you, no matter, like, if you're a first year actor or a veteran or whatever. I have not talked to a single vendor that is like, I just don't want to talk with these damn people. That is not the case at all. They love being able to meet people and make those connections. But on Sunday especially, leave them alone. they're exhausted because they've been going hard for the past 3-4 days plus the time getting ready. Like that's the other piece you don't see is that those vendors were getting all their booths ready for a month before that. They're getting everything shipped out. They're getting on planes.
And they're
They're
preparing
doing
to
all
tear it
that
back
stuff.
down.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Well,
mentally.
right, exactly. And Sunday, that's right. When you leave on Sunday and you're going out for that last dinner with some friends, those folks are still tearing down their boots. They're packing everything up and having to go through the bullshit logistics. And there's a lot of bullshit logistics to get your stuff shipped in and out. So they still have a lot of work to do. And on Sundays, typically, that's when they're closing deals. Friday and Saturday, people are buying. Don't get me wrong, people are buying, but like they're feeling things out more. They're looking at like, what do I want? Who do I want to work with? That kind of stuff. Um, just be mindful of the vendor's time. If uh, I talked with a couple of people. I've heard mixed feelings on having a bunch of people in the booth, and certainly again, COVID restrictions aside, right? Like this is a normal
Yeah.
time. Like some people really like it when there's a whole bunch of people in their booth because then other people see it and go, oh, something exciting is happening here. I need to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
That FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. But then other people don't like it because they feel like potential buyers are going to walk past because they're going to see that booth and say it's too busy to deal with. And I think that's going to be the bigger piece this year with
Mm-hmm.
COVID is that if there's a bunch of people in the booth, you're going to lose potential sales or people are going to have to come back around. The vendors themselves are probably going to be looking out to see who they see kind of eyeballing, but then, disappearing and who keeps
Yeah.
circling back but doesn't come into the booth. They're going to have that additional level.
Yeah, and
But if you go ahead.
I was just going to agree with you because as someone who does shows and sells things that I make, I know that I can tell when somebody wants to come over, but they go and make a round and then they come
They don't want to
back.
interrupt.
Exactly. They don't want to interrupt. And I don't want to be rude to the person that's talking to me. So it's really hard to. So I would definitely keep that in mind because it is a time sink sometimes when people come over and try to talk and just be in the booth without being productive with the visit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, again, these folks, and especially, most of these folks depend on these
Mm-hmm.
shows. They depend on
Yeah.
it. Their entire business relies on the sales that they make at these, 3-4 shows that they do in a year. And so every minute that they can get with a potential client, a potential customer is absolutely precious. And literally, I mean, this is their life, their livelihoods on the line here. So we want them to be successful. We want to see more haunt vendors. We want to see more quality products coming into the market. They've already got to compete with people going to the Spirit and buying, crap. They're buying garbage, props and costumes and stuff. So like these folks, we want to really highlight because they're doing something at a higher level, and so we want to make sure that the vendors are successful. And so let them, don't block the booth. Again, like I said, I'll be walking down an aisle and I'll bump into a friend, and then all of a sudden we're camped out in front of a booth and like, oh, I'm talking with 2 or 3 people, and then all of a sudden another couple of people that we know show up, and all of a sudden now we've got this group of like 10 people blocking up a booth. So if you find yourself getting into those group conversations, find an open space to talk. And again,
And with a 20-foot wide aisle, it should be easy to do.
Right. COVID restrictions aside, right? Like with wider aisles, that's probably not going to be as big a problem.
Like that was one of the things I always liked about South by.
Mm-hmm.
Was South by as a trade show. I'm not necessarily there buying, but I am there making connections for my business. I am there for the reason and the intent of the conference. But they had super wide aisles. So that if you did find yourself in that situation where you were talking to someone, you could easily either take it to the end cap or just take it to a seating area or somewhere else. They had options. They had that in mind. The trade show floor was laid out with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One is from Mia Demarais. or DeMarais. I'm sorry if I've butchered that. As an actor, what's acceptable on the freebie table? Obviously not the catalogs unless your boss asks for you to grab one, but what else would be acceptable to take? And she is a first time going to Transworld for her first time this year.
A good question.
Across the board, this is one thing that I heard across the board from companies who do swag. So not everybody does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the companies who do swag, they have no problem with anybody taking it. Like it doesn't matter if you don't have buying power.
The
That
buttons,
doesn't matter to them.
pins, the badges, whatever else, patches.
Lanyards, whatever. I know. Again, Bloody Mary, like she sent me an entire box of stuff for the bus tour last year, and I was like, it's not happening. We're not doing it. She's like, yeah, it's here you go. So so she tends to be pretty good about it, but everybody said like limit it. Don't come in and take 4 hats. Don't come in and
Right.
take 6 lanyards. Like take a lanyard, take a pen, take one of the things that they have, but just don't hoard it. Don't take it all for yourself. I mean, yeah, but they want that stuff out there, right? Like they want to see their product or their brand walking around the show floor. That's
Yeah.
another thing you can do with a lot of that swag is like don't hoard it, don't throw it in your bag and hoard it. You get a lanyard, put it on.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Like if you see like back in the day, you could be well. I was working the booth, so I would be able to be in costume. At Transworld, I don't believe you can be in costume on the show floor anymore.
Right.
But I was there because I was working, so I was in costume. So what I would do is I was walking around, I'd get a lanyard, I'd throw it on, and I'd get a button on, and by the end of it, I was like fucking NASCAR. I was just like covered in stickers and stuff like that. So like, I wanted if I got something free, I wanted everybody to see where I got it, and
Yeah.
see these companies' names.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the biggest companies, the ones who have the biggest names, I should say, it's because they got a ton of swag.
Yeah.
It's because they make shirts and all that stuff. So, they want you to take it, but like, limit what you're taking. Don't take.
Yeah,
don't
Yeah.
take what you need and ideally wear it out and about if you can. If it's something that's wearable,
Exactly.
and
Help
use it.
promote it. And another way to help promote is if the vendor's cool with it, you can go live and say, or get on social media and tag them
Yeah.
and make sure that
Yeah.
you get the message out that these vendors
Totally.
exist,
By the
Yeah.
way, Japes,
This.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to backtrack,
Okay,
but go ahead. You had something on this topic.
Yeah, I do. I do. This you brought up a great point in social media. Like I can't tell you how annoyed I get when I'm not at a trade show, I'm not at a haunt show, and then I see in my feed that somebody was there, and all I see is the picture of the item. Right here's the this really cool animatronic. You look at like, and every year at Transworld, there's like one video that ends up going totally viral.
Yeah.
And like a couple years ago, it was that Pennywise, the giant
Yeah.
Pennywise, and that shit made it mainstream. Like all my non-haunt friends were like, "Hey, check this out," and I was like, "Yeah, I know, I saw it the day it went on."
Yeah. Exactly.
But like, but all that stuff is, but what wasn't in the picture was the name of the company.
Exactly.
So like when you're taking these videos, try to get the name of the company in there. Or one thing to do in terms, we were talking also about like how to document where you found the cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you get to a booth, take a picture of the name of the company first, then take your pictures of their items. So then when you look back in your camera roll, you see, okay, here's all the stuff from this company, and here were the things I liked. And then you take a picture of the next company that you like and the things that you like. So you have a running list of these are the things that I liked, and this is the company to go and get it. And make sure you're, when you're posting that stuff up on social media, include the company name, tag the company. The companies love that when you tag their company in your social media posts. Oh, they love it.
Yeah, because I know a few years ago, there were videos going around of the entire show floor, and people were upset because, companies weren't tagged or they. I'm not sure exactly what the issue was because to me it seems like it would be publicity. Because I learned about some companies from that video actually that I didn't know were out there, but maybe that opinions on that have changed.
Yeah. You know, I
Yeah.
think again, when you go live, you know, make a big deal about the name of the company before you start talking about, oh, look at this cool thing.
Yeah,
Don't make it about the thing, make it about the company first. You know,
exactly.
And
look
then
at the,
focus on the
you
cool
know,
thing.
Yeah,
what's that?
exactly.
Yeah. I was just going to
Yeah.
say, when we were talking about catalogs, I got curious, so I decided to pull up a quote to get some catalogs printed just to see how much they were.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And for getting 5,000 catalogs, which would be a fairly small run, actually, for
Mm-hmm.
a Transworld type environment, but it's what I could do right now. 60 pages, full color through and through on the glossy paper. It's $8,916 for the print run, bringing each catalog to $1.78 a piece plus shipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what you're dealing with. That's the type of money you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every one of those you know, and I was talking with one person where I really asked numbers. I was like, you know, what are you paying for yours? And he was paying about $1.25 per catalog.
Yeah.
You know, so that's $1.25 that you're taking, and you're not going to do anything with it. You know, so like,
Mm-hmm.
don't take it if you're not going to use it. You know, go, you know, like I said, document the name of the company, then go check out their website, check out their Facebook page. You know,
Yeah, and real quick, if you are at a conference, be sure to with your social media, make sure that you tag the official conference tags because they're going to have them
Mhm.
out there. You know, there's been hashtags on Twitter for several years now that are always official, and then you let them know about the conference too.
Yes. And now, Japes, I know you got a lot to get through. We're at the 40-minute mark of the show, though. We've been so good talking to you.
Yeah, I know.
I know this is again.
This always happens to us. I know.
I know. And we have another question, real quick.
No, just
Well, Brad Salper asked. We all have our own favorite spots that we tend to return to. What's your favorite one? You know, that's not part of Transworld or MHC to go to hang out,
Like
meet people.
like places outside of the
Yeah.
venues and stuff. I really don't have any in St. Louis, to be honest. But back when MHC was in Columbus, there was a bar down the street called what was it, Barley Corn? I think it was. Uh, great craft brews. I've had some great conversations with great people there.
now I'm wanting to go there.
Yeah, that was great, and that was one of the nice things about Columbus versus Chicago. Is Chicago just doesn't, like, we don't have a lot of really good stuff around the area that MHC is. We have tons of great stuff in the city, but out where MHC is, it's just not that much so. But yeah, down St. Louis actually, it's not a restaurant. City Museum, you got to go.
Oh yeah,
You
City
got to go
Museum
to City.
is amazing.
Yeah, you got
Yes,
to
I'll
go.
agree with that.
Got to go to
Mhm.
City Museum. Oh man, that place is a blast. That place is an absolute blast.
Yeah, and Barley
So-
Corns is the name of the place you were thinking of. I've got it up here.
It was Barleycorns. Yeah. It's
You were
a great
correct.
place. Anytime I make it over to Columbus, I try to get there for sure. It's a great place.
Yeah, I don't think I'm returning to Columbus. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
So, but yeah, I mean, so I guess like getting out, like off of the show floor and getting out of, to kind of Brad Doogie. I don't know why I'm
Mhm.
saying Brad. That's Doogie.
I know.
Doogie. Great segue to talking about what we do after, because that's the big piece, right? Is like get out there and network and talk. And if you're young, like don't try to impress people with your stories about what you've done. Just sit back and ask questions. And that's not to discredit anything that anybody's done. And I'm not trying to say like young people or even old people, doesn't matter. I'm saying you're going to get more out of it if you just ask questions.
Well, and
If
you're
you
going to
take
get that's
time-
broadly, whether you're young, old, or anything. That's just true. You're going to get more by asking questions.
Yeah, spend more of your time listening than talking if you can, which is very difficult for me. But
Oh, yeah.
it's but it's just a great opportunity to start to hear different perspectives. I remember sitting in the lobby of when Transworld used to be in Chicago, and it was me and a guy from Tennessee and a guy from Canada just talking about haunts. And you're talking about like a haunt from Tennessee. My experience was a haunt in Chicago, and then this guy from Canada, like just completely different worlds, and it blew my mind to sit there and be like, this is how you do things there? That's weird. We don't do things that way, So understanding that there's a big difference in the way that different shows work, and regionally, that is very much the case. Um,
Hmm.
things run differently down in the South than they do in more urban areas. And then you got the guy in Canada. I'm like, Canada? You're not even scary. What? It's a bunch of lumberjacks? Like.
Everyone pops out, scares you, and says they're sorry. I mean,
Right, man. I'm
Oh,
sorry
we are
about
going
that,
to
Eddie.
hear it because
oh,
we
Sean,
have
we're gonna get our
several.
asses kicked.
We have several friends that are haunters in Canada. I don't know what you two
I'm
are
getting a
talking
goddamn
about.
letter about that tomorrow.
But yeah, I mean, just try to have those conversations and network and um, you know, get out there. The other thing, this is something that I actually struggle with a lot. I remember riding the elevator. I think it was actually at MHC with Katie Lane, and I
Mm,
didn't know Katie at the time. I just knew of her. I know that she had worked in some of the haunts that I had worked at, and we just never really crossed paths and everything. But I knew her as the legend that Katie is. She's an incredible, talented, brilliant woman, and I rode the elevator with her, this is late in my this I wasn't new by any means. This was like probably within like the past 10 years, to be honest. And I rode the elevator with her, and I didn't say anything because I was like starstruck. Like I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to be a weirdo. But like now knowing Katie and having a relationship now with her, I'm kind of like kicking myself of like I could have started talking to her then, but like I chickened out. Don't like there are different people that we listen to and we hear and we see and we read about them on social media and stuff that are like haunt celebrities. Take the time to talk to
Yeah.
everybody. Like there are very few people that I've met that would be haunt celebrities or haunt legends that are actually arrogant pricks. They're
no.
honestly, it's just that's not the case. So use that as an opportunity to kind of talk to those folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the
Um,
things. Like everybody I've talked to from the haunt industry that would be considered a legend or something like that. Other than names, I think we both have in common. We would agree on this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Names that will
those
not be
names that
said
are
here. But other than
yeah.
like names we can name, everyone's been really cool. I mean, people like even like John LaFlambeau is super easy to talk to. Just walk up to him and strike up a conversation. It's the easiest thing in the world. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess the other kind of dark side that we got to talk about real quick. I know it's probably not good to end on a dark note, but
Oh no.
um, you know,
Well,
like creepy assholes that use your characters to flirt with underage or young women. Fuck off.
Just don't
I'm
be
gonna say,
creepy. Don't be a creepy asshole.
don't be
Don't
that. Okay.
create a character that's going to cause that problem. Just don't do it. It's the easiest
yeah.
thing in the world.
Well, and,
Just
and
don't.
to be honest, like a lot of times, the people we're dressed in our costumes after the show, for the costume balls or the events after or whatever. And like I've just seen a lot of people like try to be in character, and like there's no reason. There's just really no reason to be in character. You're not there to entertain people. You're there to hang out and talk. So I think that a lot of people fall into they use that character to like get over their own social phobias, and they also use it to exploit things and like, oh, that's my character. I'm just a kind of a creepy scumbag. And like, and like, why is it that creepy scumbag is only a creepy scumbag to women who are, women? Really, that's who it is. It's women. Why are you only a creepy scumbag to women? And really, what it is you're looking to cop a feel. You're looking to see if you can get in there and get to know them. And like, we that shit needs to be done. That needs to be completely gone and out of here. Um,
Yeah. And
I think it was a very common thing in haunting for a long time, and it needs to go away.
it
It needs to
does.
It
absolutely.
does. I agree.
It does. And I know that we covered this on an episode, I think it was actually with Brooke, about if, you see someone being creepy, go and say something, and
Mhm.
also find security and let them know that this person, is not, is just don't do it. I'm sorry. I'm just like,
And I get
Like
really pissed when people are
number
like,
one,
I don't know how to be scary if I can't be like this. Then get some imagination.
right? Well, and you're not there to be scary.
No.
We don't go to haunt cons to be scary. That's
No.
not it.
no.
Like excuse me, if you have a really beautiful costume, you want to show off how beautiful your costume is.
Yeah.
Nobody's really interested in your act. I'll be honest with, like, very few people at a haunt show are interested in other people's acts.
Yeah.
And it's artificial and it's forced.
Well,
You
it's
know,
like-
like it's not a natural environment.
Like when I attended the HauntCon ball, I went in my Bernie Baxter costume, but I didn't wear the mask because I know that kind of sets me into the character, and I don't want to be. But also, it's impossible to talk and drink and do the things I want to do at the damn party. You know,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
there to
Right.
party and hang out. I'll wear the coat and tails and the top hat. I'll do all that and have my cane. I'll do all that, but I'm not going to do the full costume because I'm there to eat, drink, be merry, and chat people up and hang out. And you can't.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do that when you're in a giant latex mask.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, and again, people are going to be drinking. If you're a bad drunk, know that you're a bad drunk. Know
Yeah.
that you get sloppy, and
Goes-
don't get sloppy because it doesn't look good for you. Again, there are still creeps, and we're trying to weed them out.
Yeah.
I really believe that there are a lot of people actively doing that, and like the creeps use their over drunkenness to, oh, I was so drunk. I'm sorry, I did that. I wouldn't normally do that. I was just so drunk. No,
Yeah.
not acceptable.
No,
And
it's
then,
not acceptable. And real quick, also extend this to, I don't know if Transworld has booth babes. I know that they do at some of the other conferences, but
Mhm.
don't be creepy to them either,
No.
men
No,
or
yeah.
women. If there are, hot guys working a booth or hot girls, don't be creepy to them.
Yeah, you're putting them in such an awful situation because they're there to represent the brand,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so they have to pretend that it doesn't bother you when they're doing that because
Yeah,
they have to represent the brand. So
exactly.
you're putting them, you're exploiting that. You're taking advantage of that, and it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
And I encourage people who are not doing that but who are witnessing that behavior to call
Making
that
the
behavior
weather my
out.
bitch.
You know,
You should stay indoors today. No
Sorry.
one wants to see you.
Okay.
Well, okay. My weather app just decided to open up. I highly recommend the Carrot Weather app. It's a lot of fun, but I scrolled over to the wrong screen, and then it just decided to refresh because I was looking at it for a second.
but yeah, and I mean,
Good job,
remember,
Carrot.
your actions, especially you're
Yeah.
wearing if you're wearing your haunt your haunt shirt or whatever, your
Mhm.
actions reflect on
Yes.
your haunt. And also the other piece too is if you're in costume and you're scaring people because you're walking through the hotel or whatever, and
Mhm.
you're scaring people who are there because they're just at the hotel, they came for another convention or they're just there on a vacation or whatever. I've seen people scare families. I've seen actors scare
Yeah.
like mom, dad, and the kid when they're just there. They didn't know they were coming into this. That
No.
reflects really badly. Like, number one, it's shitty and it's weak. Like, you're going for the softest, easiest scare. So
Mhm.
that's the first piece.
Yeah.
But then the second piece is that reflects badly on the con, and you may not hear about your actions. You may not hear about somebody being pissed, but the people who organize the con, they're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
And when you damage that relationship, what the venues are going to do is they're going to restrict things more. They're going to say you can't be in costume even or outside of the show.
Yeah.
You can't you can't hang out here after hours. A lot of people hang out in the smoking area or whatever after hours. They're going to shut that shit down because stupid stuff is happening there. So you got to remember that the people who organize the events, they want to keep a good relationship with the venue,
Yeah.
and that comes down to their guests. If their guests suck, they're not going to want them there anymore.
Yeah, if you need any further details on that, look at what happened at the furry convention and how they got kicked out of, I can't remember, like every hotel in like the Pacific Northwest of the country because they did such a crap job. Their guests were so horrible that literally no hotel will take them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We don't want that for the haunt industry, and what'll happen is all of a sudden the show has to move from whatever place it's at, and everybody's going to be like, man, this is bullshit. It should stay in my hometown and blah blah. So it's because you were getting drunk and puking on everybody and scaring kids and stuff,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And also, one thing you mentioned in the notes I wanted to highlight was don't put your haunt stickers everywhere.
yes,
For
yeah,
the love of, hey, what the hell are you doing? You're hundreds of miles from your haunt. What are you promoting?
yeah. It doesn't help anything. Nobody's going to drive from Columbus to Chicago to check out your haunt.
Yeah, nobody's going to
rarely.
Los Angeles from St. Louis or from New Orleans to what? St. Louis. Well, okay, we will. We are the worst examples, though. Okay,
I know.
we went from New Orleans to Chicago, but we're terrible examples.
But it's not people that are just like going and hanging out at a hotel. Like nobody,
Right.
I've never been in, and I'm a haunt fan. I've never been at a hotel and then seen a sticker of some event that's going on, 500 miles away, and said, "Oh, I better go check this out."
I got to make a point to fly out there for that. Gee, golly willikers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you we put our makeup on, we get dressed, we put our costumes on in our hotel rooms, and then we use their towels, and we like go to bed with our makeup on their sheets. Like that screws up their sheets, that screws up their towels. They're not going to be able to get those clean. So like if you can bring your own towels, and that would be great. Make sure you take a shower before you go to bed so you're not getting the linens all messed up. And then like you're going to end up making a mess because you're partying and you're hanging out with your friends. So like when you leave the hotel, leave a tip for the people who have to clean up after you.
Yeah.
Like, leave $20 or whatever you can afford, just to be like, look, I know we were assholes. We trashed, we there's no place to put the garbage, so we just ended up throwing it in the bathtub. There was too many beer cans. What am I gonna do?
I've never had that happen.
No.
Oh yeah, me either.
No. I think I would go and buy trash bags at that point.
Yeah.
Or just ask the staff, say, "Hey,
Concierge.
Oh,
can I have a trash bag? I need it." Things got a little crazy.
I've definitely been to hotel parties where the bathtub was filled with cans, filled cans, and then by the end of the night, it's all empty cans.
No.
So,
Okay. Well, Japes, we are almost out of time. We're almost nearing the hour mark. Any final thoughts? I know that there's a lot to take in here, and I know we had to skip some, but there is a lot here. But any final thoughts in your last point?
Again, I think we kind of hit the main things that I kept hearing from the vendors. Some of the other stuff that we didn't necessarily get to cover, we kind of covered in other places.
Yeah.
But just go and have a good time. But remember that like we are working to professionalize our industry. We are trying to get it more to the point where it's not about who can drink the most and act like the biggest asshole.
Yeah, you're representing both your haunt and the industry at large, so never forget that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who have made incredible names for themselves as like haunt celebrities through social media and stuff. Mm-hmm. This is the opportunity to find out what they're all about. Like we didn't have when I was a kid, when I started going to cons, we didn't have that. We couldn't do that. So our pool of people that we should be able to tap and talk to was much more shallow. Now it's much larger because these folks are able to showcase what they can do through social media all the way across the country. So there's a lot more great people to talk to, and I think it's really important to find the time to chat with those folks, and then hype up those vendors. Get their names out there. Like I think it would be great if we saw more people when they're doing they're decorating their house for Halloween, instead of going to Spencer's or Spirit or Halloween City or whatever the hell. They're going out to vendors that are making really high quality stuff. So
I agree.
So that's what it's there for.
Well, Japes, you get a few minutes here left. Where can they find you?
I don't even know anymore, honestly. I don't know that Lost Souls is going to be able to operate again this year. I don't see that it's going to be safe to have 40 people on a bus drinking. So, but you can always check out Lost Souls. I'm not going to lie, our page has been dark for close to a year now. But we'll be back in business eventually. But otherwise, you can find me on Facebook, Japes Palles.
Palles for those playing along at home.
Yeah, you can send me a friend request, or you can message me there if you have questions or whatever. Otherwise, you can email me at Mr. Japes, MrJapes 10 at gmail.com. You can email me if you have questions. But I take the time to have chats with, especially through like Facebook Messenger and stuff. Chat with people about whatever questions they've got. So,
well, I do hope Lost Souls is able to happen in 2021, and it is lostsoulschicago.com is the domain for that.
Yep, that's the website.
And like you said, it hasn't been updated yet with any information on 2021. But you've got a great photo of Brewster telling you that the tour's been canceled, and Terry should have told you. So that's worth the visit to the site alone in my book. I mean, I don't see why you're hiding that. I think that's great. It looks like the commemorative coin I got because it's from the same movie. But yes, Japes, thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending the hour with us. And thank you all for spending the hour with the three of us. We'll keep chatting a little bit longer after we go off on Facebook. So once again, this is Haunt Weekly. HauntWeekly.com is the website. Haunt Weekly on Twitter. Haunt Weekly on Facebook. YouTube.com/Haunt Weekly is the YouTube channel. You can also find us at Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever fine our podcasts are sold. They haven't kicked us out yet for some reason. And every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, we are live on Facebook. Once again, Facebook.com/HauntWeekly. Sometimes we hang around afterward, have a little chat. We have some chats before, so feel free to get here early and let us know what's on your mind. Until next time.
Still got plenty of beer, so I don't mind hanging out for a little longer.
So until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this was Haunt Weekly.
And I'm Japes.
Yeah, and that was Japes, and this is episode 278 of Haunt Weekly. We will see you all next week.